Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today we're unpacking a really raw, honestly intensely relatable source text that's simply titled Overwhelmed. It's this profound reflection on modern burnout, and it perfectly captures that exact feeling of just losing yourself in the chaos of daily life. You know the kind of chaos I mean, right? The kind that creeps up on you until you suddenly realize you're barely keeping your head above water. So we're going to use this document to map out exactly how we lose our footing and, way more importantly, how we can actually get it back.
Okay, let's just dive right into this with a quote straight from the text. The author says, "I am stuck in between mind and body." Man, have you ever felt that? That intense, totally paralyzing disconnect where your brain is absolutely racing, but your physical self is just completely frozen? It happens so easily these days. I mean, our screens are always demanding our attention, our responsibilities are constantly overlapping, and we're being fed this endless, relentless stream of information. And the result? It's a total system overload, where your mind actually detaches from physical reality just to cope. So today we're really deconstructing this raw look at what it means to be truly overwhelmed. We're breaking down this whole journey, from total chaos to absolute clarity. And the text starts by exploring a very modern trap.
Section 1. The Trap of Constant Motion, or the Relentless Push to Improve. The source text opens almost breathlessly. It just says, once again, on the move. Notice how incredibly abrupt that start is, but it mirrors our societal default beautifully, doesn't it? We wake up, we rush, we work, we scroll. There's this exhausting, high-speed drive that the author captures immediately, literally in the very first line. We're a culture that's totally locked into perpetual motion, and we're kind of terrified of standing still. Every single moment feels like this frantic race against the clock, where downtime isn't a human necessity, it's treated as a wasted opportunity. And why are we moving so fast? Well, the text links this directly to a pretty universal desire, wanting eagerly to improve. But what's really fascinating here is the contradiction the author sets up for us. They note that this eager desire quickly spirals. Suddenly, we don't know when to stop, or even what we genuinely want to improve to ourselves, or to anyone else for that matter. We just end up improving for the sake of improving. It becomes this frantic race with absolutely zero finish line. It's like you're running on a treadmill that just keeps speeding up. And eventually, whatever your original goal was gets entirely lost in the blur.
So, what actually happens when you never hit the brakes? Well, the text gives us this really jarring realization. This place is not familiar. This place is not who I am. That brilliantly illustrates the true cost of all that constant, eager motion. It completely strips away our sense of belonging. The author writes that this state is not me belonging. It is not belonging to me. It leads to this sudden, honestly terrifying loss of identity. You look around your own life, your routines, your relationships, and you fundamentally do not recognize your place in them. You've literally outrun yourself.
The author then searches for their tomorrow from today, but only finds stress. And that leads to a really crucial question. Is it gone or is it staying? Who knows? Think about that in the context of the text. The author is expressing this deep, heavy doubt about whether this stress, this unfamiliar place, has permanently consumed their present and their future. Like, is this anxiety just a passing phase, or is it a permanent fixture in the architecture of their life now? It's a genuinely scary question, and that uncertainty pushes the text right into its most agitated phase.
Section 2. The Disconnected Self, when mind and body split.
The source describes a jarring, almost clinical detachment here. On one side, we've got a racing, active mind. The author says, I can see my mind deciding. But then on the other side, the physical self is entirely removed. I am detached from my body. That intense dissociation is the crucial point here. The cognitive load has just become so incredibly heavy, and the expectations are so high that the physical self simply checks out. It's like the mind is operating as this frantic CEO up in a penthouse, while the body is just the neglected building below, completely cut off from the entire decision-making process.
Which leads us to this brilliant paradox from the text. I am like a prisoner on the move. Just let that sink in for a second. You are moving constantly, rushing from task to task, aggressively ticking off boxes, but simultaneously, you feel totally trapped in a cage. I mean, it perfectly encapsulates the modern condition, right? Being wildly active but entirely unfree. You're doing a million things, you're answering emails, running errands, managing projects, but you don't feel in control of a single one of them. Your movement is being completely dictated by external pressures, locking you into a rhythm that just isn't yours.
The author expands on this feeling with some incredibly vivid imagery, stating, I am but one in middle of a jungle, in a cage, but fighting all intruders. Imagine the sheer exhaustion of that scenario. You're in a cage,
totally restricted, yet you're surrounded by this chaotic jungle of feelings attacking you from all directions. You are highly, highly defensive. Think about what that actually feels like on, say, an average Tuesday. Feeling completely under siege by a barrage of unread messages, looming deadlines, pinging notifications. You're fighting off these invisible threats while completely boxed in by your own overwhelming thoughts.
And who exactly are these intruders in the jungle? Well, the text specifically names them for us. Guilt and shame play a huge part. They're the internal intruders that make the author think twice. And then come the endless hypotheticals. What if this? What if that? These internal enemies force the author to function in what they call an energy of doubt. Every single decision gets second-guessed, draining whatever tiny amount of mental energy is left until there is absolutely nothing in reserve. Actually, take a deep breath with me right here. Let's just slow down for a second, because right at the peak of this overwhelming jungle, the text introduces a really vital intervention.
Section 3. The power of the pause. Breaking the cycle. After all that intense chaos, all those intruders and cages, the author delivers this beautifully direct, forceful solution. When overwhelmed, I pause. It's practically an exclamation point in the text itself. It's a hard full stop to the racing mind and the frantic body. This is the exact moment the exhausting cycle of the jungle is finally broken. It's a radical act of reclaiming your agency when everything else around you is just spinning totally out of control.
Notice how this realization actually turns into a highly actionable framework. The text isn't just being poetic here, it's deeply practical. Step 1. Pause. Stop the motion entirely. Step 2. Think. Clear out those intruders and evaluate what is actually happening in reality, rather than just listening to the anxiety-fueled narrative inside your head. And step 3. Decide. Make a choice from a place of conscious clarity, not from that draining energy of doubt. This simple 3-step process is exactly how the author regains control and starts rebuilding their sense of self.
Now look, life is full of complications, and the source readily acknowledges that. But by pausing, the author is able to categorize exactly where these overwhelming complications are coming from. They break it down into 3 distinct areas. Sometimes it's so much an environment, which is the relentless external noise of the world. Sometimes it's so much in my head, those internal intruders we talked about, like guilt and the what-ifs. And sometimes it's big feelings bottle up, representing our emotional backlog that we've just completely ignored while moving so fast. By structuring the chaos this way, we can actually face it without being completely crushed by it. And facing it, that allows us to finally find our solid ground again, which brings us to the beautiful, truly uplifting resolution of the source material.
Section 4. Reconnecting through community and finding what makes us alive. The author makes a critical, life-altering shift in focus right here. Instead of getting lost in those massive, paralyzing pressures and constantly trying to prove themselves to the world, they write, "But little things make me alive." It's such a comforting, accessible realization, isn't it? When we are burnt out, grand sweeping gestures or massive life overhauls usually fail, simply because they require energy we just do not have. The way out of the overwhelm is actually found in grounding simplicity. It's the small, manageable, quiet little things that gently anchor us back to ourselves and to the way of life we actually prefer.
The text then tells us exactly how to engage with these little things. It says, enjoy what makes a difference to me, to you, and others. I absolutely love this part of the reflection. The author totally escapes the dark isolation of their own head by focusing on shared joy. It's about recognizing what matters to you personally, sure, but then immediately extending that value outward to the people around you. It transforms the whole healing process from a lonely internal struggle into an expansive, connective experience.
And that outward extension leads directly to this: things that bring community together. The ultimate antidote to the disconnected self, that isolated, exhausted prisoner on the move we talked about earlier, isn't just a solo pause in a quiet room forever. It's the solid, shared ground of community. True connection is what pulls us completely out of the jungle of our own minds and roots us in a reality where we are genuinely supported, understood, and valued.
Which culminates in this powerful, completely life-affirming final realization from the text: it is worth fighting and living. Just think about the emotional journey we've just traveled with the author. We started with someone who was a trapped, overwhelmed prisoner, battling intruder in a cage, deeply detached from their own physical body. And through the simple, intentional mechanics of the pause, embracing the little things, and seeking out community, they've transformed into an empowered fighter, totally ready to embrace life once again. It's amazing.
So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a question that's directly inspired by this incredible text. What little things or community connections make life worth living for you today? Take the wisdom from this reflection, use the pause when your own personal jungle gets a bit too loud, and actively identify the anchors in your own life. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating source. Until next time, keep pausing, keep connecting, and stay curious.